The old mansion stood on the hill, shrouded in mist and mystery, a relic of a bygone era. Its decaying walls and broken windows whispered tales of forgotten times, and the townsfolk avoided it, fearing the unknown that lurked within. On a chilly autumn afternoon, my friends and I, driven by a mix of curiosity and the thrill of the unknown, decided to explore its haunted halls. The mansion had always intrigued us, and we couldn't resist the temptation of uncovering its secrets. As we approached the mansion, an eerie silence enveloped us, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. The heavy wooden door creaked open with a reluctant groan, revealing a grand foyer draped in shadows. Dust particles danced in the beams of light that pierced through the cracks in the walls, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. We exchanged nervous glances but pressed on, our footsteps echoing through the empty halls. The mansion's interior was a labyrinth of corridors and rooms, each filled with antique furniture and relics of the past. We wandered through the dimly lit spaces, our flashlights casting long, flickering shadows. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and decay, and every creak of the floorboards sent shivers down our spines. It felt as if the mansion was alive, watching our every move. In the attic, hidden beneath layers of dust and cobwebs, we discovered an ancient hourglass. Its glass surface was covered in cryptic, faded inscriptions, and the brass frame was tarnished with age. The hourglass seemed out of place, as if it held a significance beyond mere decoration. My friend Jack, always the daring one, picked it up, examining it closely. "What do you think it means?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Curiosity got the best of us, and with a careless flip, Jack turned the hourglass over. The sands within began to fall, each grain marking the passage of time. At first, nothing seemed to happen. We chuckled nervously, thinking we had let our imaginations run wild. But then, the atmosphere in the attic shifted. A cold draft swept through the room, and the shadows seemed to deepen, almost as if they were closing in on us. As the sands continued to fall, a sense of dread settled over us. We tried to shake it off, telling ourselves it was just an old hourglass. But deep down, we knew something was wrong. The air grew colder, and an oppressive silence filled the room. My heart raced, and I could see the fear mirrored in my friend's eyes. It was as if we had awakened something ancient and malevolent. We decided to leave the attic, hoping to shake off the unease that had settled over us. But as we descended the stairs, the mansion seemed to change. The corridors twisted and turned in ways that defied logic, and we found ourselves hopelessly lost. Panic set in as we realized we couldn't find our way back to the foyer. It felt as if the mansion was alive, shifting and changing to trap us within its walls. Hours passed, or perhaps it was only minutes. Time seemed to lose all meaning. We wandered through the darkened halls, our flashlights flickering as if they were struggling against the encroaching darkness. Strange sounds echoed around us, distant whispers and soft, eerie laughter that sent chills down our spines. The sense of being watched grew stronger, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following us. Desperation began to take hold. We tried to retrace our steps, but every turn led us further into the mansion's maze-like interior. The walls seemed to close in, and the air grew thick with an almost tangible sense of malice. My friend Sarah suggested we split up to cover more ground, but the thought of being alone in that place was too terrifying to consider. We had to stick together no matter what. As we stumbled through the darkness, we came across a room we hadn't seen before. It was a library, filled with towering shelves of dusty books. The room felt strangely untouched by time, as if it had been preserved in a bubble of the past. We searched for any clues that might help us escape, but the books were filled with incomprehensible symbols and strange diagrams. It was as if the mansion itself was mocking us, offering no way out. Suddenly, the hourglass appeared on a nearby table, as if it had been waiting for us. Its sands continued to fall, and with each grain, the sense of impending doom grew stronger. Jack reached for it, but I grabbed his arm, stopping him. "We don't know what we're dealing with," I said, my voice trembling. "We need to find a way to stop this curse before it's too late." But how could we stop something we didn't understand? As we debated our next move, a low, rumbling sound filled the room. The floor beneath us began to shake, and the bookshelves trembled. Panic set in as we realized the mansion was reacting to the hourglass, as if it was trying to contain the curse we had unleashed. We had to act fast. Jack suggested breaking the hourglass, but something told me that would only make things worse. We needed to find another way. In our search for answers, we came across a hidden passageway behind one of the bookshelves. It led to a narrow, winding staircase that descended into the depths of the mansion. With no other options, we cautiously made our way down, the stairs creaking ominously under our weight. The air grew colder with each step, and the darkness seemed to press in around us. It felt as if we were descending into the heart of the mansion's malevolence. At the bottom of the staircase, we found ourselves in a cavernous chamber filled with ancient artifacts and strange symbols etched into the walls. The hourglass was there too, its sand still falling relentlessly. The chamber radiated an aura of power and danger, and we knew we were getting closer to the source of the curse. But what could we do to stop it? The answer seemed just out of reach, hidden within the shadows. As we explored the chamber, we found an old journal lying on a pedestal. Its pages were brittle and yellowed with age, but the writing was still legible. The journal belonged to the mansion's original owner, a man who had dabbled in dark magic and forbidden rituals. He had created the hourglass as a means of controlling time, but it had backfired, trapping him and anyone who dared to use it in an endless cycle of torment. The journal detailed the creation of the hourglass and the curse it carried. According to the owner, the only way to break the curse was to let the sands run out completely. But this would come at a great cost. The curse demanded a sacrifice, a life for a life. As we read the journal, the implications of our actions sank in. We had started a countdown to doom, and someone would have to pay the price to stop it. Fear and despair washed over us as we realized the gravity of our situation. We were trapped in a race against time, with no clear path to escape. The hourglass continued to count down, each grain of sand bringing us closer to the inevitable. We had to make a choice. Continue searching for another solution, or face the harsh reality that one of us might have to sacrifice themselves to break the curse. As the hours passed, tension and paranoia began to set in. We argued over the best course of action, each of us driven to the edge by fear. The mansion seemed to feed off our desperation, its shadows growing darker and more oppressive. It felt as if the very walls were closing in on us, whispering malevolent thoughts into our minds. Trust began to erode, and we found ourselves questioning each other's motives. In the midst of our turmoil, Jack disappeared. One moment he was with us, and the next he was gone, leaving behind only the faintest echo of his footsteps. Panic gripped us as we searched for him, calling out his name into the darkness. The mansion seemed to mock us, twisting its halls and corridors to keep us separated. The sense of being watched grew stronger, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being hunted. Hours turned into an eternity as we searched for Jack. The mansion's malevolence seemed to grow with each passing moment, and our fear turned to desperation. We stumbled upon rooms we hadn't seen before, filled with eerie artifacts and symbols that seemed to pulse with a sinister energy. The hourglass appeared and disappeared at random, always counting down, always reminding us of the curse we had unleashed. We finally found Jack in a small, dimly lit room at the end of a narrow hallway. He was standing before a mirror, staring at his reflection with a vacant, haunted expression. His skin was pale, and his eyes were filled with a deep, unending sorrow. "Jack, what happened?" I asked, my voice trembling. He turned to us slowly, his movements stiff and unnatural. "The hourglass. It showed me things," he whispered. "Things I can't unsee." Jack's encounter with the hourglass had left him deeply scarred. He spoke of visions and nightmares, of his deepest fears brought to life. The curse had taken hold of him, twisting his mind and spirit. We knew we had to act quickly to save him, but the mansion's malevolence seemed to tighten its grip with every passing second. The hourglass continued to count down, its sands falling like a relentless ticking clock. Desperation pushed us to search the journal again, hoping for a clue we might have missed. As we pored over the brittle pages, we discovered a hidden passage that spoke of a ritual to weaken the curse. It required us to confront our deepest fears and secrets, to offer them as a form of penance. It was a dangerous gamble, but it was our only hope. We had to face the darkness within ourselves if we wanted to survive. One by one, we took turns confronting our fears. The mansion seemed to come alive, manifesting our darkest secrets and deepest regrets. I watched as my friends faced their personal demons, each encounter leaving them shaken but determined. When it was my turn, I felt a cold dread settle over me. The hourglass appeared in my hands, and as I stared into its depths, my own fears began to materialize before me. The ritual was a harrowing ordeal, but it seemed to weaken the curse's hold on us. The hourglass's sands slowed, and the oppressive atmosphere of the mansion began to lift, if only slightly. We knew we were making progress, but the curse was far from broken. The final steps of the ritual required us to confront the hourglass directly, to face the malevolent force that had ensnared us. It was a confrontation we couldn't avoid. As we prepared for the final confrontation, we gathered in the central chamber where the hourglass awaited. The air was thick with tension and anticipation, and the flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows on the walls. We formed a circle around the hourglass, our hands joined in a show of solidarity. The hourglass's sands were nearly gone, and we knew that this was our last chance to break the curse and save ourselves. With trembling hands, Jack lifted the hourglass, holding it aloft as if it were a sacred artifact. The room seemed to vibrate with a sinister energy, and the shadows around us began to writhe and twist. "We must do this together," Jack said, his voice resolute. "We must face our fears and offer them to the hourglass." One by one, we spoke our fears aloud, the confessions echoing through the chamber like a litany of despair. As we poured our fears into the hourglass, a strange light began to emanate from within it. The sands glowed with an otherworldly brilliance, and the inscriptions on the glass seemed to come alive. The malevolent force that had haunted us for so long began to weaken, its hold on the mansion loosening. But the hourglass demanded one final sacrifice, a life to balance the scales and break the curse once and for all. Jack stepped forward, his eyes filled with a quiet determination. "I'll do it," he said, his voice steady. I'll be the sacrifice. We tried to stop him, to find another way, but he was resolute. He knew that his encounter with the hourglass had marked him, that his only chance for redemption was to offer himself. With a heavy heart, we watched as he placed his hand on the hourglass, the final grain of sand poised to fall. As the last grain of sand slipped through the narrow neck of the hourglass, a blinding light filled the chamber. The mansion trembled, and for a moment, it felt as if the very fabric of reality was tearing apart. Jack's body began to dissolve into the light. His sacrifice accepted by the curse. The malevolent presence that had tormented us dissipated into the night, leaving us in a stunned silence. The hourglass shattered into dust, its power broken. The aftermath was a blur of emotions. We stumbled out of the mansion, the weight of what we had experienced pressing down on us. The fog that had shrouded the hill was gone, replaced by the soft glow of dawn. We were free, but the cost had been tremendous. Jack's sacrifice had saved us, but it had also left us forever changed. We had faced our deepest fears and survived, but the scars would remain. The townsfolk were astonished to see us emerge from the mansion, and we were bombarded with questions and curious stares. But we had no answers to give, no way to explain what had happened. The mansion stood silent and empty, its secrets buried once more. We vowed to never speak of the hourglass or the curse, to let the past remain in the shadows where it belonged. In the days that followed, we struggled to return to our normal lives. The memories of the mansion haunted us, and sleep became elusive. Nightmares plagued our dreams, and the sense of being watched never truly left us. We tried to support each other, to find solace in our shared experience, but the trauma had left deep wounds that would take time to heal. Sarah was particularly affected, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by the horrors we had faced. She withdrew into herself, haunted by the visions the hourglass had shown her. We tried to help her, to be there for her, but it was clear that the experience had changed her in ways we couldn't fully understand. The mansion had taken something from each of us, something that could never be reclaimed. As for me, I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt. I had been the one to suggest exploring the mansion, to let curiosity get the better of us. Jack's sacrifice weighed heavily on my conscience, and I found myself questioning every decision I had made. The hourglass had shown me my deepest fears, and now those fears had become a part of me, a constant reminder of the price we had paid. Life slowly began to move forward, but the shadow of the mansion lingered over us. We avoided the hill, unable to bear the sight of the place that had caused us so much pain. The townsfolk whispered about our ordeal, and rumors of the cursed hourglass spread. But no one truly understood what we had gone through, the terror and despair that had consumed us. It was a burden we carried alone. One evening, months after our escape, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Jack's family, thanking me for being there for him and for the bravery he had shown. The letter brought a sense of closure, a small comfort in the face of our loss. Jack's memory would live on, not as a victim of the curse, but as a hero who had saved his friends. It was a bittersweet reminder of the bond we had shared. In time, the nightmares began to fade, and the scars started to heal. We found ways to move forward, to reclaim our lives from the shadows of the past. The mansion remained a silent sentinel on the hill, its secrets locked away once more. We knew better than to disturb them, to let curiosity lead us down a path of darkness again. The hourglass had been a harsh lesson, one we would never forget. I still think about the mansion sometimes, about the curse and the hourglass. I wonder what other secrets lie hidden within its walls. What other stories remain untold. But I know that some mysteries are better left unsolved. Some doors better left closed. The mansion had taken enough from us, and we had paid the price for our curiosity. It was time to let go, to let the past remain in the shadows. As the years passed, the memory of the cursed hourglass became a distant echo, a haunting tale that we shared only with each other. We had faced our deepest fears and survived, but the experience had left an indelible mark on our souls. The mansion stood as a reminder of the price of curiosity, a relic of a bygone era that held its secrets close. And though the curse was lifted, the haunting memories would remain with us forever.